Hi, everybody. I'm here with Matt Hearnden, and we're talking recruiter enablement. So, Matt, thanks for joining me today. Give us a quick intro to you.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so my name's Matt. I'm a senior recruiter at Activision Blizzard King. Been here for about 2.5 years now. And yeah, been in recruitment overall for, I guess, depending on how you look at it, sort of coming up to a decade now, which feels really weird to say. And yeah, you and I got connected through a sort of mutual acquaintance, Dominic, on LinkedIn. But yeah, just really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I bet you're happy to be Activision Blizzard King as well, because I just love companies like that. I just love companies that do cool things. I remember
Mm.
I used to run a business called Social Media Search, and I remember sitting in the office one day, and I just said to everybody in the office, there was about 15 people in the office or something. I said, right, what's your favorite brands? Write them all down on the board, and I'm going to go and target them all as sales prospects. And what we're going to try and do is work only with companies that we really like. And King was one of those on the board. I remember meeting Rebecca Clark
Yeah.
at King, and I love that office that you're in just now. So anyway,
All
I'm
right.
always envious of when I meet people that work for really cool brands because I've never worked for one.
Well, look, if you're working with cool brands, that sounds like you were doing that as well. So that's definitely something. But yeah, I think, just real briefly as well. Yeah, it's really cool to like work for a brand where like the candidates, for example, are just so passionate about it, right? They're hardcore gamers, they absolutely love it. And so to kind of have those conversations is very rewarding, not to mention having all the consoles in the office and things like that. So yeah, no, it's really cool.
And what do you recruit tech or do you recruit non-tech?
A bit of both.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of corporate roles. Yeah, do some tech, and then also do marketing, strategy, HR, all sorts of stuff really, which is security as well as a big part. So yeah, lots of different stuff.
Yeah, because I imagine for games developers, like they probably already work for a cool company. But I mean, if you're approaching people for a financial accountant job and they're working at, you know,
Well,
they'll probably go, hang on, working for that
yeah.
company, that'd be fancy.
Yeah, and I think honestly that really, I would love to think it's, only because only just because of my outreach and how, great my messages are, but
Yeah.
certainly just having that power of that brand behind, as you say, if someone kind of maybe they just haven't even thought that it's a possibility, right? But they maybe might be a huge gamer, and then all of a sudden you reach out and say, "Hey, we got this kind of opportunity." They're like, "Oh yeah, I hadn't even like considered that. I could even be in gaming." But yeah, no, that sounds great. So
Yeah.
you're right, that does help.
Yeah. You heard what Matt said there. The brand doesn't matter. So if you're a ball bearing manufacturer out there, you too
Yeah,
can attract brilliant people with brilliant recruiters.
100%.
Okay, let's get on with the recruiter enablement.
Yeah.
Right. What is it? What does it mean to you? And just give us your summary of the topic, and let me know about anything you think is a good thing for people to do, is a bad thing for people to do. Open
Yeah.
brief.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think honestly, like one of the perhaps the main reason I think that recruiter enablement is really important. I mean, to me personally, but just to businesses, is because candidate experience is important to me and to businesses, right? Like it's you hear, and if you've been on LinkedIn for more than 20 minutes, you'll see that recruiters, people are saying, oh, I've been ghosted, or they're not getting back to me, or people aren't communicating. And there's no doubt that there's like some, as in any job, there's just some recruiters who are perhaps not the absolute best at what they do, and perhaps they don't have the candidate at the forefront, which seems kind of baffling, but like there are probably a few of those people out there. But also maybe there's some recruiters, right, who they absolutely want to do their best, but maybe there's only one of them in a big company. Maybe they've got all these roles on, and they've got to manage all these candidates, hundreds of conversations per week, right? And it's like actually maybe giving them some kind of tools to be able to help them, whether it's with the outreach, whether it's with the follow up, content, whatever it might be. Maybe that's the thing that they need, right? They might be they might be like begging for this and trying to keep up all these conversations, and it's not necessarily excusing like some of the ghosting or whatever, but it does explain it. And I think it does, it's not necessarily the person's intention to give people a bad candidate experience, but they might just be really up against it, right? So yeah, I think honestly that's why it's so important. And I think kind of having something in place to help help recruiters reach out to candidates, help them to follow up with candidates, help them to keep them updated, and help them to basically be able to have that candidate experience front of mind, and at the center of all the things they do. I think like everybody wins in that situation. The recruiter wins, they can do their job better. The company wins, they give a great candidate experience. The candidate obviously wins, and even if whether they get the role, even if they don't get the role, they can go away saying, you know what, yeah, I didn't get it and I feel disappointed, whatever, but actually I had a really great experience. They, the recruiter was timely, they followed up, they gave me feedback, whatever it might be. So um recruiter enablement almost is kind of something that underpins everything else, right? If you don't have that, I think it might be really difficult for recruiters to give a great candidate experience, even if they really want to.
Couldn't agree more. And this is a really interesting subject. I want to get really tactical on it. So
Yep.
I believe that one of the reasons, and you're right, there's a real variance in people's attitudes towards like how responsive they'll be to candidates, how diligent they'll be about getting back to people and updating them and all that kind of thing. And I think some people just can't be bothered and they're lazy. And I think
Yep.
other people are just like just really super diligent. Most people are probably somewhere in the middle. And I think that one massive impact on that, of course, is the number of recs that an individual recruiter is managing. And I had Brad on a couple of weeks ago from Canada, who said, Bradley Clark, who said that they've developed a system in their company for establishing the scoring recs according to how difficult it will be to fill. And like one person might be working on only 2, but they're 2 really hard to fill jobs, and somebody else might be working on 6, but those 6 are a bit easier to follow. And that's one way of doing it. But I think there's another thing that impacts on this, and that is if you've got to think about how am I going to phrase this message that I'm going to send, whether it's an outreach message or it's a keep warm message or it's a rejection message or something like that. If you've got to sit and think about what to say, that's time consuming. And some people are brilliant immediate writers and some people are not. And you don't want to get the words wrong. So if you've got to sit and think about how to phrase something, then that might get put in the I'll do it later pile, and then it never gets to the top of the actually I'm going to do it. So I wonder if we should be, as a team, bringing everybody together and going, right, let's create the ultimate experience, and here's our service level agreement. Here's exactly what we're all going to stick to. This is the ultimate brand experience for candidates. And here is a templates for all the different types of messaging we would want that we could easily find. Is this a subject that you think that resonates?
I think that is such a good idea. And I think it is a good idea because to your point, if that kind of thing isn't kind of readily accessible, as you say, if someone's not kind of a really good writer, or I don't know, maybe if they're even more junior in their career or something and they're still learning, or if they're just swamped, right, and they've got too much stuff to do, like that would just help to, like I said, they don't have to think about it. It's like, no, we've already created everything that we need to do. Now we just need to press a button, whatever it is, send that message, put their name in. I don't know, however it would work best. I'm sure there's ways to do it, but yeah, I think it takes the not only the kind of the human error potential out of it, as like you said, I don't want to kind of get it wrong, and things, an email can come across really, if you just write it and don't look at it can come across really badly, even if you didn't mean it to. So it takes that out of it, and then honestly, it just takes the kind of maybe it takes even some of the kind of the stress or kind of the anxiety out of, like, oh my god, I know this candidate really wanted the role, they're not going to get it, like what do I do? We've already created kind of what we're going to do about that, so there's a kind of a process in place. And actually I think also that would maybe as well kind of make some of the the leaders in the business, the kind of like feel more invested in kind of giving a really good candidate experience to all candidates. Because actually I'm not even saying it's like it's not like they're saying, oh, we want to give a poor candidate experience, but I don't know how much kind of the really senior leaders kind of actually like realize how much of a priority it is and how damaging it can be to have a really bad one, because in their eyes they probably think, oh, we're getting all this great talent in, so great, I don't need to know anything else. But I think having that process in place would not only kind of show it, not only kind of gets buy-in from them, but it shows them how important it is that actually, even if we don't hire this particular person, there's still a great talent, and actually we can kind of keep all these people engaged for kind of the next role that comes up, the next one, which will make recruitment easier. So I honestly think that would be a really, really good idea. I'll be all for it, and I think it works at different levels as well.
Yeah, I mean, typically, I think we typically have templates for invitation to assessment, invitation to interview, those sorts of things. We typically have those ones like stored on the ATS, and there's you can customize it if you want, but it's much easier to give good news than it is to give bad news. Exactly. And so, like when you get the feedback from the hiring manager and they've written in it a way that is fine for you, but you cannot pass that. You've got to filter that, before you get it onto. You can't just give the hiring manager's feedback unfiltered, or else you'll get doxed on Twitter or something. And
exactly. It's true. It's so true.
And so it's just so much hard. It's so much more of a time-consuming thing to prepare that message. And you just got to get on with filling the jobs. You don't want to have to.
Exactly. You're like, well, And I think that's where again, it's like it's showing the business, the senior leaders, the stakeholders that, like, I think it's almost demonstrating how important this is, because again, in their mind, they're like, are you filling the jobs, yes or no, and time to fill, and offer acceptance, percentage, all this stuff, and they're kind of just looking at that, and it's like, but in the background might be that the person has like not gone back to any of these candidates, or kind of ghosted people, or, as you said, kind of delivered feedback in a really kind of poor way that hasn't been translated, or whatever it is, because they just can't, they're too swamped to think, they can't be bothered to think in some cases. And then you've done arguably kind of irreparable damage to kind of that person. And as we both know, if you have a bad experience, you're more likely to tell someone than if you have a good experience, right? So they're going to tell people and all this stuff. So
that's it. You're in an industry which is quite, I think probably I'm going to guess, because I'm not in it, but I'm going to guess you're in an industry where everybody knows each other and everybody's only like 2 or 3 degrees connected. It's Kevin Bacon. So one other thing, I told you I was going to get super granular with that one, but one other thing is, you talked about like outreach and like general kind of candidate management, or let's just talk about recruitment in general. What are some of the tools and things that like you enjoy using and are useful to you to get your job done?
Yeah, so I think just having LinkedIn, having obviously access to LinkedIn Recruiter is really, really helpful. You can see, obviously you can filter by skills and all that type of stuff, but even just to see kind of who's open to work is honestly, like, for me, arguably the most important one, right? Like, those are going to be the warmest leads. And honestly, even if in that case, like, obviously you still want to do a good outreach, but they're already warm, so it's kind of like, oh, actually I can just kind of message these people. Although actually, I sometimes I think that's what's kind of helped in kind of building a bit of a sort of a brand on LinkedIn, if you like, is I don't always kind of use like the in-mails. I'll just kind of connect with people and send them like a message that way, because I do find often that people are kind of really a lot more receptive to that. They kind of think, oh, this guy, he posts about helping job seekers, and oh, and he's got, there's some credibility there, and he's reached out to me about this role, so that's kind of really cool.
You're also inviting that person to be part of your network, and I think that's personal outreach, as opposed to the transactional aspect of an in-mail, is maybe quite warming for the candidate.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And again, I try not to, I don't go informal, certainly, but I just keep it kind of very, when I first reach out, kind of pretty chill, if you like, and just like, hey, like, we've got this role available. If you are open to hearing a bit more, would love to share. If not, that's totally cool. Like, just great to connect, whatever. And honestly, that's probably the one I use most for. We've got, on our ATSs, obviously you can kind of send these kind of pre-written sort of messages, but I don't know. Again, they sometimes come across as like a bit like a bit formal, and like, especially because like we are a gaming company, like it's not, it's like we make games, it's fun and it's casual and these type of things, and it's like obviously there's a line, and it's kind of difficult to define maybe in some ways, but yeah, it kind of comes across just a bit. So I often, even if I'm going to send them to a bunch of candidates in the ATS, which is really useful because it might be candidates who've applied before or they got to this round of interview or whatever. But I'll kind of usually change the sort of the actual writing. Maybe I'm just a control freak, who knows? But I like to change it to something a bit less like intense, and like kind of we have this role available. It seems like you might be a really good fit. Here are some of the details. Would love to hear from you, and rather than sort of like, oh, you have been selected to, but and I don't know, it comes across a bit. So yeah, I really like LinkedIn. I really like ATSs in that sense to just kind of do that bulk outreach.
I think you're a control freak. I think you're an artist, by the way. That's what I would say. I think
that's so much better. Oh my God, I'll take that.
Yes.
And then honestly, yeah, I do think kind of having built a bit of a presence on LinkedIn has helped massively. Like since I've done that, my outreach response is like, I mean, I don't know honestly the exact percentages or numbers, but it's way more than what it was when I even first started at Activision Blizzard King. Even having that kind of like that really good brand name behind it. Yeah, now it's like gone up a lot. So I think even just having that as a kind of tool in the tool belt, if you like, has helped.
Tell us about what you're doing around like sharing like career advice or job seeker advice and that type of thing, because honestly the concept of leading with value, giving something before asking for something, I think, and also somebody was talking to me the other day about law of attraction. What you project is what you get back in return, and I'm a big believer in that as well.
Yeah, it's I mean, you said it best really there. I think just leading with value. I think I just wanted to I honestly just thought the market. I started posting on LinkedIn about a year ago because I was like, I think I have some knowledge that could help job seekers. I don't know everything. I still make mistakes. I still get it wrong. But I was like, I think I can help people. I know the market seems really tough. All these kind of layoffs had happened, and more were to come that we didn't even know about yet. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, like I just want to, not even from a kind of like, oh, come and work at Activision Blizzard King type view. Like that would be great as well if great talent sees that and is like, oh, this is really cool, and I hadn't even thought about that. Let's go to this guy's profile, whatever. But literally just being like, you know what? I think I could help. And some of the stuff, again, and you'll know this, Adam, like some of the stuff that seems really obvious to us, I was posting about it and I was like, oh my God, I was like, is this just really obvious? And then people would message me being like, oh my God, I'd never thought of that. Or like, because we do it day in and day out, right? It's just, you kind of take it for granted that how much you know. So yeah, and you're exactly right. And then this kind of this law of attraction thing, it's like, it kind of, and I know there's kind of some, there's probably some kind of weird spiritual stuff around that as well, that who knows, but like it's kind of obvious when you think about it. If I'm providing all this value, trying to provide all this value, why wouldn't that sort of come back to you, And it's like, obviously the content has to be good and useful, but yeah, I think that was it for me. I was like, I just want to give value where I can, and if they come to, and I've even had messages, where it's like, oh, actually, I had one the other day where it was like, oh, actually, I'd had like a not so great experience with, Activision Blizzard King before, like something had happened or I'd been ghosted, which obviously really sucks. And then they were like, but I saw your profile, and then it was like, oh, one bad experience does not a company make, or whatever they said. And they were like, I'd definitely consider now because I can see, they saw me, and then and through me, then they saw other people at ABK posting content to help. So that's really powerful. Like that's getting a great talent kind of back on side when they'd sort of said, they'd sort of opted out, and fair enough in a way. But so yeah, I think it's incredibly powerful to lead with value, and then of course you're going to attract more back. It just makes just the way of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, the big learning there for any recruiters that are listening to this is don't underestimate what you know. Don't underestimate the knowledge and the expertise you have. And I think we're a little bit self-deprecating in recruiting. Yes. We think that we're just the people who kind of put all the experts together. No, we've got our own expertise that the hiring managers do not have and candidates do not have. So, Matt, thank you very much for your time today. We've covered a lot of really great subjects, and so I appreciate it a lot, and look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, cheers, Adam. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to you soon. You take care.